Okay, it's time to get some trees up potted. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you today. It is April 5th, 2020. So here we are, we're heading into spring, which is actually kind of summer for us here in Arizona, but what it means more than anything is heat, and it's coming on fast. So as you guys know, we've been kind of scrambling to get as many things planted here in the ground as we can until we get into our really hot summer months. So what we have left over would be a handful of trees that simply do not have a home right now and are going to need to kind of push through the summer as best they can in a pot. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. So first thing would be these two trees. So these two trees are our white mulberry. Now when we originally posted the video, if I could track it down, I'll post it for you. But when we originally posted the video, we thought, and it was sold as a Pakistan white mulberry. However, it was very clear based on the fruit size that it definitely is not. So I don't know the exact variety of white mulberry that we have, but the fruit itself is definitely white. It does not turn black like a typical mulberry would. So if Lori wants to slide in, let me show you what these trees have on them already. So you can see as you come in closer, a lot of small fruit. One thing that we found with these trees is they did fantastic with fruit set. The challenge was really just the ripening of the fruit itself, and then really taste. Not the best tasting necessarily, but either way it does well. What we're also finding is we're starting to get some leaves that are starting to crisp up a little bit because as they've grown, they're starting to run out of space in these pots. Now, a couple things with this mulberry. So the reason why we're potting it, these grow into massive trees. The tree that we had at the old property was just a few years old, and it was probably pushing a good 30 feet tall and maybe 20 to 30 feet across. So they get massive very, very quickly. So as far as placement for these trees are actually gonna go on the very back of the property. So basically as far away from the home as we can. And we're trying to figure out still where they're gonna be. More importantly, we don't have irrigation back there yet. So we know these two trees definitely will not have a permanent home, at least not this year. So what we need to do is we need to get these trees into larger pots, which is what you see behind me here. So that way they have a chance to root out well, continue to grow with a little more space, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a home for these come next spring. One other thing I should mention with those white mulberries are actually air layers that we took off of that tree at the old farm. So those are original Edge of Nowhere farm stock, so to speak. So in addition, we have 3 panache figs that we started from cuttings. We weren't real sure how they were going to take, but they survived through the summer really, really well, or I should say through the winter really, really well. And you can see they're starting to root out of the bottom of these little pots. So they're doing really good, but they definitely are going to need more space because we don't know for sure where we want these. We're leaning a little bit towards putting them into the garden, so having them there with us and kind of figuring out how we can do some drip irrigation in maybe more of a concrete pot. Either way, for now, for this summer, we want to give them more room to grow a little bit bigger, get a little bushier, and that way we have them for planting either this fall or next spring. So while I'm here, I do want to give you guys a quick update on this tree. So this here is our potted golden Dorset apple. I'll link the video for you here so you can see when we planted this tree. When we did, it was small. We got it from Reed at RSI Growers. Now, of course, his rootstock is designed for our ground. So definitely not ideal necessarily for growing in a pot. However, you can see this tree's done great. I'm gonna have Lori slide in. I want to show you some detail. The tree itself just doing really, really well. We did keep an open center. We also did not train this into a single basic trunk. So it's a multi-trunk apple tree. You can see that down there. One thing I know for sure, we're gonna need to pull these wood chips out to make sure that we're not burying the root crown too far. So we will have to come back in here and do that. However, as Lori slides in a little bit closer, take a look at the fruit set on this tree. Look at that, just looks fantastic. We got several of them here as well. So this tree definitely putting on fruit. So what we're hopeful is where we have it this summer, we've got about 2 months or so. The beginning of June is usually when these are ripe. We're hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, that maybe, just maybe, we'll get some fresh apples off of this year. Either way, I wanted to give you guys an update. This tree doing fantastic in this concrete pot. Now, as far as potted trees, that is not our specialty, but we do know what soil works best for us, considering what we have growing and what has grown out in pots well for us. What we use is we use the Kellogg raised bed and potting mix. That actually works really, really well for us. It does a great job of holding in moisture. That really is the key for us with potted trees. It needs to hold moisture. So we're going to be using that. We'll also mix just a little bit of the Kellogg's garden soil in there as well. So the red bag, very easy to find these. You can find them at Home Depot. They're pretty inexpensive and they work fantastic. And of course, on top of it, they're organic. What we have inside these two pots, we just have some gravel, some larger, probably 1/2-inch size pebble, or basically your typical river rock. We have that down in a very, very thin layer at the bottom, just to make sure that we're keeping the roots from going through the hole in the bottom of these pots. So what Lori and I are gonna do, we're gonna get these two trees into the pot. I'm gonna have Lori slide in. I want you to take a peek at the depth of the soil on this. Okay, so you can see we have the soil about even with the root ball. Remember, this is a mulberry, so it can send roots out from here. So not too concerned if we're, as far as planting depth, it's just fine. However, we left a good 2 to 3 inches, and you guys could probably already guess the reason why we left that space. And yes, if you guessed wood chips, you are absolutely right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and grab some wood chips, fill these all the way up to the brim with wood chips. Right before that though, we'll make sure we water this in real heavy. One other thing I probably should point out, you'll notice that we filled the pots with water before we started getting the tree in as far as planting depth. Reason for that is we just want to make sure that the soil that's at the bottom is going to have a chance to settle just a little bit, and more importantly, gets nice and saturated with water. We want to make sure that this soil that we bought is not repelling water, but it's actually holding water. So now what we're going to do, get this watered in, get some wood chips on top, and then we'll come back to you. These are done, wood chipped, nice and heavy and soaked in there. So this will do a really good job of helping us to conserve soil moisture as we go in through the summertime here. So now you also noted that I mixed this on the ground. So obviously maybe that's not necessarily ideal. And I think after I did it, I'm like, you know, putting a tarp down might have helped. But either way, as far as weed seeds, obviously we've got 3 or 4 inches of wood chip mulch here. Not too concerned about that. And these mulberry roots are extremely aggressive. So I am not worried about them having to compete against a couple of weeds. So now what we need to do, hopefully we have enough soil. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but we need to get these little panache starts into these little 5-gallon pots. So Lori and I are going to go ahead and get to work, get at least a couple of these potted up so we can try to get them through the summer. Turns out we only had enough soil to get 2 of those panache figs up potted. So we have those 2 here. And now what we need to do is give them a little shot of fertility just to make sure they're sending roots out and growing well for us. So one thing, especially when we're transplanting potted plants, I like to use vitamin B1. That's what this is here. You can see we've had it for a while. It's missing the label. And also some fish emulsion. So we're gonna mix about a tablespoon of B1 and probably about the same of fish emulsion in about 2 gallons of water. And we'll basically just spread it out evenly between these 2, and then each one of those 2 plants are going to get about a gallon each as well. So we're going to go ahead and get these fertilized so we are ready to go. So you can see we have these up potted. I think they're going to do great for the summertime. Do want to talk a little bit about where we're at and why we have these placed where we do. As you can probably hear in the background, we have our laying hens cackling away, laying eggs for us today. And we have, if you want to check out the video here, when we had the run put up, we needed to put some temporary screen in there, shade essentially, for our laying hens. What's great about this side of this run, we're on the east side of it, is that these pots, as you can see here, we're about midday. You can see they're going to get morning through midday sun, and then in the afternoon at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, these guys are going to be in complete shade. We found that as we had our potted plants out on the old farm, that wherever we gave them a little bit of shade, especially in the afternoon, they did much, much better. So we're hoping that we'll have the same thing happen with these. Another thing that we found with potted plants is we can build soil right here. Where I'm standing will eventually be our broiler pasture. So getting some soil going on underneath these pots will be a great thing for us to do. So we'll probably come back through, get some wood chip mulch on the ground. That'll also help kind of hold some of this moisture in underneath here. And of course, we know there are worms in these pots. If not now, there definitely will be. And we want to give a nice spot for them to go ahead and call home. Either way, I think we're ready to get these trees through the summer. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Questions or comments, leave those in the comment section down below. Instagram and Facebook, we post content there you won't see here on the YouTube channel. And our Amazon shop, I'll leave a link down in the description. That's a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you.